हेलो माय डियर फ्रेंड्स, कैसे हैं आप लोग। उम्मीद करती हूँ आप सब अच्छे होंगे। चैप्टर नंबर 8, ईगो। कैच मी इफ़ यू कैन। दे आर फॉर एवर फ्री हु रिनाउंस ऑल सेल्फिश डिजायर्स एंड ब्रेक अवे फ्रॉम द ईगो केज ऑफ आई मी एंड माइन। भगवद गीता फ्रॉम द बुक थिंक लाइक अ मॉन्क, रिटन बाय जय शेट्टी। The Sanskrit word Vinayam means humility or modesty. When we are humble, we are open to learning because we understand how much we don't know. It follows that the biggest obstacle of learning is being know it all. This false self-confidence is rooted in the ego. The Bhagavad Gita draws a distinction between the ego and the false ego. The real ego is our very essence, the consciousness that makes us aware and awake to reality. The false ego is an identity crafted to preserve our sense of being the most significant, the most important, the one who knows everything. When you trust the false ego to protect you, it's like wearing armor that you thought was made of steel, but it actually made of paper. You march onto the battlefield confident that it will protect you, but was better easily wounded with a butter knife. The Samved says, pride of wealth destroys pride of wealth destroys wealth, pride of strength destroys strength, and in the same manner pride of knowledge destroys knowledge. The ego is a Marx. An unchecked ego harms us. In our eagerness to present ourselves as the greatest and smartest, we hide our true natures. I have mentioned the persona that we present to the world. It is a complex stew of who we are, who we want to be, how we hope to be seen, as discussed in chapter 1, and what we are feeling in any given moment. We are a certain person at home alone, but we present the world with another version of ourselves. Ideally, the only difference between the two is that our public persona is working harder to be concentrated, attentive, and generous, but sometimes our ego is intrigued. Insecurities makes us want to convince ourselves and everyone else that we are special, so we contrive a dishonest version of ourselves in order to appear more knowledgeable, more accomplished, more confident. We present this inflated self to others and we do everything we can protect it, the self we want others to perceive. Fourth century monk Evagrius Ponticus, also called Evagrius the Solitary because sometimes monks get cool nicknames, wrote that pride is the cause of the most damaging fall for the soul. Vanity and ego go hand in hand. We put enormous effort into polishing the appearance of the self we present to the world. When we dress and groom for ourselves, it is because we want to feel comfortable and appropriate, easily achieved through a daily uniform, and even because we appreciate the color or style of certain clothes. But the ego wants more. It wants us to get attention for how we look, a big reaction, praise. It finds confidence and joy in impressing others. There is a meme that shows Warren Buffett and Bill Gates standing side by side. The caption reads, $162 million in one photo and not a Gucci belt inside. I have nothing against Gucci belts, but the point is that if you are satisfied with who you are, you don't need to prove your worth to anyone else. To contemplate the difference between yourself and your persona, think about the choices you make when you are alone, when there are nobody to judge you and nobody you are trying to impress. Only you know whether you choose to meditate or watch Netflix, to take a nap or to go for a run, or wear sweatpants or designer threads. Only you know whether you eat a salad or a column of Girl Scout cookies. Reflect on the you who emerges when nobody else is around, no one to impress, no one with something to offer you. That is a glimpse into who you truly are. As the aphorism goes, you are who you are when no one is watching. The ego makes us Sometimes the ego works so hard to impress others that it does more than hype itself. It drives us to lie, and counterproductively, all that effort only ends up making us look bad. For one of Jimmy Kimmel's live witness news interviews with random people on the street, he sent a camera crew to Coachella to ask people walking into the venue what they thought of some completely fictitious bands. The interviewer says of two young women, "One of my favorite bands this year is Dr. Sklomo and the GI Clinic." "Yeah, they are always amazing," says one of the women. "Yeah, I am really excited to see them live," the other adds. "I think that's going to be one of the bands that's going to be really great live." Did you see them? Did you see them when they played at Lollapalooza? No, I didn't. I am so mad. Then she asks a group of three, "Are you guys are excited as I am about the obesity epidemic?" One of the guys responds enthusiastically, "I just like their whole style, like their whole genre is great. They are kind of like innovative and they are new." The ego craves recognition, acknowledgement, praise, to be right, to be more, to put others down, to raise us up. The ego doesn't want to be better. It wants to be seen as better. When we bluff our way through life pretending to be who we are not, we end up losing worse than we truly are. The story of Frank Abagnale Jr. told me in his memoir, Catch Me If You Can, and the movie at the same name. It is a spot on example of the false ego in play. Abagnale was a talented con man, forgiving and acting his way into jobs as an airplane pilot and a surgeon, jobs he hadn't earned and couldn't perform. Wrapped up in his ego, he used his natural abilities for low selfish purposes and lost himself. But after he was released from prison, he used the same skills and talents to lead an honest life as a security consultant. Real ego, a healthy self-image, comes from acting out your dharma from the highest purposes. Presumably, his stint in prison gave him time for reflection and humility, and he found his way to a higher purpose. The ego creates false hierarchies. Building a facade of confidence and knowledge isn't the only strategy the false ego uses to convince itself and everyone else that is great. It also goes to great lengths to put other people down. Because if others are less than we are, then we must be special. Our egos accomplish this by ranking ourselves and other people based on physical attributes: education, net worth, race, religion, ethnicity, nationality, the cars we drive, the clothes we wear. We find countless ways to judge others unfavorably just because they are different. Imagine if we segregate people based on what toothpaste they use. That divide is clearly ridiculous. Discriminating based on elements of our bodies or where we were born is in an equally false divide. Why should skin color matter more than blood type? We all come from the same cells. The Dalai Lama says, "Under the bright sun, many of us are gathered together with different languages, different styles of dress, even different faiths. However, all of us are the same in being humans, and we are uniquely have the thought of I, and we are all the same in wanting happiness and in wanting to avoid suffering." In chapter 5, we talked about misappropriation of the Varnas in India's caste system. The idea that Brahmins determined by birth are superior to others and therefore should have senior positions in government is an ego-driven interpretation of the Varnas. The humble sage values every creature equally. This is why monks don't eat animals. According to the Gita, perfect yogis are they who, by comparison on their own self, see the true equality of all beings in both their happiness and their distress. When success goes to our heads, we forget that everyone is equal, no matter who you are or what you have achieved. Notice if you are expecting or demanding special treatment because of your presumed status. Nobody deserves a better seat in the theater of life. You might wait in line for awards the night before the tickets go on sale, pay more for a closer seat, or be given a better view out of gratitude for your support of the theater. Or you might simply hope for a better seat, as most of us do. But if you feel like you are entitled to better, dig into the feeling. What makes you better than the other audience members? The arrogant ego desires respect, whereas the humble worker inspires respect. I often wondered what it would take for all of us to see each other as citizens of the world. I shot a couple of videos for the Ad Council as part of a public service campaign called Love Has No Labels. In Orlando, I spoke to people about the aftermath of the Pearl's nightclub shooting and heard stories from diverse members of the communities about how they came together in the aftermath of this tragedy. I met with Reversed Terry Steed Pierce from a church near Pulse with many LGBTQ plus congregants and Pastor Joel Hunter, whose congregation is mostly white and straight. In the aftermath of the tragedy, they worked together and became friends. Somebody will find hope merely because we are having the conversation. Reverend Pierce said, and Dr. Hunter added, and that is the bottom line of what will change the future. As Reverend Pierce put it, they are two very like-minded people that want to make a difference in the world. The question this beautiful friendship evokes is, why does it take a tragedy for us to come together? Our ego sets us on a path where we put more value on ourselves and those whom we recognize as being like us. Why it is that we walk this path until a bulldozer blows through it, presuming equality keeps the ego in check. Whenever you think someone's status or worth is less than yours, turn your gaze back toward yourself and look for why your ego feels threatened. It is core to monks to treat everyone with equal honor and respect. Judgment. Even without segregating outwardly, ranking ourselves or excluding others, we attempt to elevate ourselves by judging others, including our colleagues, friends, and family. There is a Zen story about four monks who together decided to meditate in complete silence for 7 days and nights. The first day goes well, but as evening approaches, the first monk grows impatient because the monk whose job was to light the lamps is still sitting motionless. Finally, the first monk erupts, friend, light the lamps already. The second monk turns to him. You broke the silence, he exclaims. The third monk jumps in, fools, now you have both broken the silence. The fourth looks at his companions, a proud smile creeping across his face. Well, he boasts. Looks like I am the only one who has remained silent. Every monk in his story reprimanded another monk for speaking, and in so doing became guilty of that same sin himself. That is the nature of judgment. It almost always backfires on us in one way or another. In the act of criticizing others or failing to live up to higher standards, we ourselves are failing to live up to the highest standards. In many cases, we are passing judgments to deflect others' attention on our own from shortcomings we see in ourselves. Projection is the psychological term for our tendency to project onto others emotions or feelings that we don't wish to deal with ourselves. And projection happens a lot. So before judging others, pause for a moment and ask, am I finding fault in order to distract myself or others from my own insecurities? Am I projecting my own weakness onto them? And even if I am doing neither of those things, am I any better than the person I am criticizing? I can't say what the answers to the first two questions will be in every case, but the answer to the third question is always no. The ego in the obstacle to growth. The ego is an obstacle to growth. All of this article leaves us in ignorance, like Frank Abagnale, who didn't make the effort to actually qualify as a pilot or a doctor. Our efforts to construct an impressive facade distract us from learning and growing. Even those of us who aren't con artists miss out. When you are sitting in a group of people waiting for someone to finish talking so you can tell your fabulous story or make a witty comment, you are not absorbing the essence of what's being said. Your ego is champing at the bit, ready to show how clever and interesting you are. If you desire to show ourselves and others that we know it all, we jump to conclusions, fail to listen to our friends, and miss potentially valuable new perspectives. And once we have got a point of view, we are unlikely to change it. In our in her popular TED talk, Why You Think You Are Right Even When You Are Wrong, Julia Gallup, host of the podcast Rationally Speaking, calls that rigidity soldier mindset. A soldier's job is to protect and defend his side. Conversely, there is the scout mindset. Gallup says scout mindset means seeing what's there are accurately as you can. Even if it's not pleasant, soldiers have already signed onto a cause as they value continuity. Scouts are investigating the options as so they value truth. The soldier mindset is rooted in defensiveness and tribalism. Scout mindset is rooted in curiosity and integrity. Soldiers value being on the right side. Scouts being objective. Scouts value being objective. Gallup says whether we are a soldier or a scout has less to do with our level of intelligence or education and more to do with our attitude about life. Are we ashamed or grateful when we discover we are wrong about something? Are we defensive or integrated when we find information that contradicts something we believe? If we aren't open minded, we deny ourselves opportunities to learn, grow, and change. Institutional ego. It isn't just individuals whose egos limit their perspectives. Governments, schools, and organizations under close-minded leadership fail to look beyond what they know and end up constructing an ego-driven culture. Elected officials fight for their constituents and for donors without concern for the world beyond their supporters and those who will come after we all have gone. Textbooks or tell history about from the perspective of the winners. Organizations get trapped in business as usual mindsets without responding to changes around them. When Reed Hastings, the co-founder of Netflix, offered to sell a 49% stake in the company of Blockbuster in 2000, he was turned down. 10 years later, Blockbuster went bankrupt, and today Netflix is worth at least $100 billion. There is a danger in the words we are always done in this way, or I already know that. The Blockbuster Netflix story is well known in the tech world, so when I told it around 70 marketing directors as a conference, I asked them how many of you, when I shared this, felt you already knew what I was going to say. About half of them raised their hands, and I told them that the conviction that they already knew what they needed to know was exactly the problem that these companies had. When you presume knowledge, you put up a barrier that nothing can cross and miss out on a potential learning opportunity. What if there was an extra piece of that story? This point, sister, was the extra piece. You can write off the familiar, or you can use it as a deeper reflection point. Even if you think you already know a story, try to live it in a new experience every time. Nine, a Zen master, received a university professor who had come to inquire about Zen. When Nine served tea, he poured his visitor's cup full and then kept on pouring. The professor watched the overflow until he no longer could restrain himself. It is overfull, no more will go in. Like this cup, Nine said, you are full of your own opinions and speculations. How can I show you Zen unless you first empty your cup? You can only be filled up with knowledge and rewarding experiences if you allow yourself to be empty. The ego isolates us. When a Roman general returned from victorious battles, it is said that it was customary to have a slave stand behind him whispering, Remember, you are a man in his ear. No matter how well we had done and how lauded he was for his leadership, we has still a man like all other men. If you are at the top of your game, beware. Ego isolates you. Don't live in a world where you start thinking you are special, that one person is worth your time and another isn't. In an interview, Robert Downey Jr. offered a modern version of the same wisdom. When he is at home, he isn't Iron Man. He said, I am walk into my house, people aren't like, wow, Susan's like, did you let Monty out? Did you let the cat out? I am like, I don't know. She is like, I don't think he is in the house. So go look for him. This is a reminder to him that even a movie star is just a person in their home. If you believe you are an Iron Man, it should be because you actually do what Iron Man does. If you inspire special treatment, it is because people appreciate you. But when you demand or feel entitled to it, you are looking for respect that you haven't earned. दोस्तों हम यहाँ पे ब्रेक लेंगे, मिलेंगे हम नेक्स्ट वीडियो में द डबल एज्ड ईगो। बहुत अच्छी बुक है, आप लोग सुनिएगा ज़रूर और मुझे कमेंट करके ज़रूर बताइएगा कि मैं इसके बाद नेक्स्ट बुक कौन सी लूँ, या सेल्फ हेल्प या फिक्शनल या लव स्टोरी या फिर कुछ भी आप मुझे सजेस्ट करिए। मैं ट्राई करूँगी वो बुक नेक्स्ट इसके बाद मैं कंटिन्यू कर सकूँ। इसमें थोड़े और पेजेस बाकी है। ईगो फिर चैप्टर ख़त्म, नेक्स्ट चैप्टर फिर उसके बाद का मेडिटेशन। तो थैंक यू वेरी मच फॉर सब्सक्राइबिंग मी, लाइक शेयर एंड सब्सक्राइब। थैंक यू वेरी मच। बाय फॉर नाउ फ्रेंड्स।